Since 2003, this is the Sports Source, East Tennessee's #1 sports talk show.
Brought to you by Junk Be Gone and the Garza Law Firm.
With your host, John Pennington. The Sports Source starts now.
Good Sunday morning. Welcome into the Sports Source. Happy to have you joining us for the next 90 minutes. We'll be talking about Tennessee's 41-34 loss to Pittsburgh yesterday. Basically, the Volunteers committed ritual Harry Carey during that game with multiple mistakes. At the same time, they still had a chance to win that thing. So, is it glass half full, glass half empty? That's pretty much what the basis of our show is going to be today. We got a lot to talk about, including who should be the starting quarterback when Tennessee goes to Florida in a couple weeks. Got all of it coming. First segment of our show brought to you by our friends at the Garza Law Firm. If you run into a local problem, folks, and you hire an out-of-town law firm to represent you, you're really starting with one hand tied behind your back. Turn to Marcos Garza and his team of local attorneys, a Knoxville guy, Knoxville agency, who can, these are guys that know the local system. They know the people. That gets you off on the right foot. In those rare occasions when you need an attorney, you know, nobody wants to have to need an attorney, but when you do, turn to the local guy, turn to the expert, turn to the Garza Law Firm, garzalaw.com to learn more. Okay, let's welcome in the first round of panelists today. VFL Will Overstreet right here. Will, thank you. From WNML AM and FM, we have Jimmy Himes and Josh Ward. Guys, thank you for being here. And a longtime sports writer, longtime member of this panel from the first show forward, Bob Hodge. Bob, thanks for being here. You know about the Vols roster, folks. When you lose 35 players, you're going to have to find some advantages. You're going to have to create advantages for yourself. And let's take a look. Some areas where Tennessee needs to be victorious on Saturdays to pull out victories. Tempo, obviously, that's a big part of the plan. Well, yesterday, Pitt ran 82 plays. Tennessee just ran 66. Pitt had 45 rush attempts. I thought in the fourth quarter, the Vol defense for the first time started to look a little bit gassed. I don't think that that's any coincidence there. Turnovers. Look, you lost the turnover game 3-0 yesterday. You are -5 on the season. You have not forced one on defense. You're going to have to steal possessions. We talked about that all off season. They're not off on the right foot there. Penalties, oh my goodness. 13 penalties yesterday, 134 yards, just horrific. Even more disgusting, the fact you had 3 just stupid, unsportsmanlike, unforced errors. Darnell Wright took his helmet off. Cade Mays went in, lost his temper, cleaned up a guy and pushed them way back when they were down at the Pittsburgh inside the 5. Jeremy Banks body slams a guy. Theo Jackson came close to getting another one, to having a 4th one there for body slamming a guy. Now, special teams, outstanding. Blocked punt that Mike Eckler said before the game. He told the broadcasters, hey, we found that one on tape. We've got one coming. They said it. Down to punt at the 2. Paxton Brooks good again. Return game was good. Coverage game was good. You had a missed field goal return for a touchdown, though that was nixed by a penalty as well. But you basically won special teams. If you're having to find advantages and win these games in the margins, you lost in 3 of the main areas where you have to do that. Will, I just think that if you're looking for an edge to be able to overcome what your roster is here in year one, they didn't do it. 2, they went in the wrong direction. They shot themselves in the foot a whole lot yesterday.
Yeah, they really did. And if you take all those stats, the 3 turnovers, the penalties, then you gave up 5 sacks. You only got 2. They had time of possession of 36 minutes to your 23, and they went 2 for 2 on 4th down. All of those things say they are extending the plays. They're more time on the field. You're getting less opportunities. And, really in this defense, if it's not getting turnovers, the only other way to get really that ball back is to get pressure on the quarterback and get him on the ground. You're not doing that with your front 4. Your 2 sacks came from your linebacker and your star player at Theo Jackson.
Yeah.
The rest for Pittsburgh all 5 from their defensive line. That's when you look at that difference and say that's a struggle. It's going to be a struggle for this team if they don't fix that.
Time of possession is going to be an interesting thing to watch all year. If they've got 20 minutes of possession but they're scoring in 10-second bursts, who cares?
Right.
But when you're not, then you're looking at time of possession saying, wow, they're wearing you out. Jimmy, your thoughts on all the missed opportunities yesterday?
Well, they had a bunch of them. They were also twice, they had the ball inside the 5-yard line and did not score touchdowns, so that also bit them a little bit. there were a lot of situations where Tennessee had a chance. Now, if you look at it and you say 13 penalties, 3-0 in the turnover ratio, not scoring twice inside the 5, you're like, how in the world they only lose by 7?
Yeah.
So they had a lot of fight in them. Every time I thought Pitt was throwing a knockout punch and take a 14-point lead, Tennessee would answer. So I give them some credit for that. And gosh, in the last 5.5 minutes, they had the ball on the plus end of the field with a chance to tie it. Couldn't convert it. So, boy, I look at that and I just see missed opportunities time after time.
Bob, you made a point about that before the show, about the fact that if Jeremy Pruitt were coaching this team last year and you had those knockout.
It looked like, and for so much it is a different team, but it looked so different from the way that they hung in there and kept fighting. And I thought if you're going to take something positive away, that's the biggest positive I saw is in that game, you didn't see any quit, and that's a good thing.
The E for effort. Josh Ward, let's talk about it was a controversial call toward the end of the game. Hendon Hooker looked like he got the first down. The refs didn't give it to him. Could have challenged it. Josh Heupel chose not to. He was down to one time. Your thoughts on how that was handled there at the end on the bad, what looked like a bad spot?
Mm-hmm. My thought would be to challenge it. Josh Heupel's explanation was he was told it was being looked at. I don't know exactly what that means because time still is a factor there. So my thought is challenge it. I also still don't know that you get it overturned because
if it's close,
yeah, who knows? There's the image from behind where it looks like he has to be across the line, but would a replay show that that's the case? There's an official that's in place that should theoretically be seeing the ball. So my thought is challenge it. I'm not going to kill Heupel for not.
Then you get into the fourth down call. Everyone's going nuts over the fact that you're in the shotgun. And I heard saw so many people yesterday saying, here it is, Butch Jones. And I thought, actually, every Tennessee offensive coordinator since David Cutcliffe has been shotgun in those situations.
Because Cutcliffe does it too.
Yeah, that's right. We've talked about it since Cutcliffe. That's what I mean. So including Cutcliffe, I should have said. So it's not Butch Jones. It's all of them. That's the way the game is played. But my problem, Bob, is if you're going to stay in the shotgun, why are you bunching everybody? Your whole offense is built on spreading people out. And we'll talk about the running back numbers in the next segment. But when your best runner is your quarterback, I'm thinking spread them wide and let Hooker do whatever Hooker wants to do with the ball.
Before that fourth down call, I would have bet a lot of money that the ball was going to stay in Hendon Hooker's hand one way or the other. I didn't like the formation because your offensive line at that point did not have an advantage over the Pitt offensive line by any stretch of the imagination. And to make that call, plus you're going with your number 3 tailback at that point too.
Who's like 175 pounds.
So I just thought that whole scenario from the call that I thought too should have been challenged, the play that you called, the formation that you had, I didn't like anything about that. And I thought if you're looking for a weakness yesterday in coaching, okay, there's one. It was one play. But it was a really bad play and a really important play. That didn't mean Tennessee would have won if they got it.
Well, see, that's the interesting thing is I heard a caller who calls every week about how the refs have stolen it from Tennessee. I never hear him complain about refs when Tennessee wins a game. But anyway, I heard a caller on Jimmy's postgame show, and he's like, well, there's a ball game and you didn't get it. I thought, if they had given you the ball first and goal there at the 3, is that a guarantee Tennessee scores? Because I'm trying to think. Tennessee was at the 3 in the second quarter. Yeah. And they went 35 yards backwards. So, 1, it's not a guarantee you score. 2, if you do score and you do kick the extra point, Pitt has 5 minutes with the football more than likely. So, yes, big play, but we don't know how that was going to turn out. You can't say they stole it. You had 13 penalties, 3 turnovers, 15 overthrows. You earned the loss, but you stayed in it. So, let's talk about that very quickly. Do you look at that glass half full or glass half empty? 30 seconds.
I look at it, I'm going to look at it as half full at this point in time just because I think you look at 71 scholarship players. You see the other games around this league with different players out there that could have been starters here. You're in your 3rd string running back. You've got your 3rd string offensive guard, I think.
2nd string quarterback, technically.
You're down, right? And that is the case in point where you look here. You've got to have players. You don't have players in key spots, especially at depth. So when a guy gets hurt, your team downgrades of what its ability is to do.
Nobody on this show, we aren't the sun. Well, we do have a couple of sunshine guys, but this show isn't exactly known for, well, look at the bright side. However, game 2, I'll still look at it. If we're still talking about these things in November, I'm not going to be as glass half full as I am glass half empty. But I think I would lean toward glass half full. I saw some positives yesterday, and I thought they would lose that game. I saw nothing that surprised me. Their effort encouraged me. Glass half full, glass half empty, Jimmy.
It's half full with me because, look, if Tennessee had played a relatively clean game, I think they can win it. 13 penalties is too much to overcome. Not scoring inside the 5 twice when you had a chance. Having a touchdown call back on a penalty. There were enough things there that encouraged me about Tennessee going forward if they can just play a little bit cleaner.
All right, very quickly, guys. Half full, half empty?
Yeah, agreed with everything that said. Eventually, you got to get the results because if the buy-in's going to be there, the players want to see the results come.
I'm going to go half full too. Give the defense some credit after the turnovers. They held them to field goals. You're looking for positive? That's positive.
Well, there you go. And that's all we need for positive. So the next 80 minutes will be spent kicking the crap out of it. Next segment, let's talk about, and we're going to talk about the quarterbacks. We're going to whole segment on the quarterback situation later. I want to talk about the run game. I want to talk about the non-quarterback areas that are in most need of improvement. That's next on the Sports Source. Come on back.